Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
It's wonderful to be here and presenting Daniel Murray. So, hi Daniel, and we also have Ian coming up after Daniel. I don't know, Ian's in the waiting here, Dr. Nguyen. So wonderful to have you both as part of our session 3 today on holistic healing. And a little bit about Daniel. Through his career working with some of Australia's largest financial service companies, Daniel Murray has been firsthand in the most defining factor in any business, which is the ability to connect with people, whether it's peers, customers, shareholders, employees. The ability to understand what drives people has become a critical business skill. So I'm sure we'll all agree that one. Using empathy as a driver for change enables businesses to deliver high-performance outcomes while creating positive relationships based on trust and commitment. Daniel has a degree in mathematics and an MBA, a passion for helping business leaders, and that wonderful thing of blending leadership, strategy, and emotional intelligence. And we welcome Daniel right now. Great to see you today, and handing over to you.
Well, that was quite the intro, and I'm really happy to be here. That was not my bio, but we will go with it anyway at the moment. I am a shaman, a healer, and a teacher. And basically, I received my first initiatory call into spirit at the age of 22 months, where I clinically died. And then basically from the age of 2, my spirit guide started to teach me psychopomp, which for those people who aren't aware, psychopomp is a Greek word that means guide of souls. And then I started to learn how to cross earthbound souls over. And that was probably the first decade of my life, and started to push me in towards the shamanic sort of healing stuff that I do now. So basically what I'm here to talk about today is, and share with you guys, is humanity's initiation to heal itself and the earth that we're going through, and how humanity's oldest spiritual practices of shamanism is once being called upon again, for people to not only reconnect to the spirit of themselves, but reconnect with a sacred relationship with their earth. And in particular, a lot of my work is death and dismemberment. And what I mean by that is we need to be able to dismember the false illusion of our self that we sort of see ourselves and the world as, and create space in us so our true personhood can walk forward and intertwine into this being and take the wheel more aligned with our soul's path. Mm-hmm. So basically a lot is happening in the world, as we all probably know at this moment. But one of the things that's come through from spirit to me over the last few years has been the dismembering process of firstly the earth and the cosmic elements of the earth, like the fire, air, water, wind, space. And we've been seeing that a lot since probably 2015, where the earth chakra in the Himalayas started to dismember with the earthquakes up in Nepal and Tibet. And then it moved on to the fire element, and we started to see the great fires across the world. In the Amazon, the lungs of the earth were burning. In Australia ourselves, we've seen mass burning and healing and transformation from this fire element. So as we're moving through each element, the spirit of the place has been guiding me, I guess, over the last few years with bringing back this practice for humanity. Because as the earth is starting to move into its dismembering process to be reborn with a higher vibration, humanity has to match that with their consciousness. So again, we're being called to be inspired and sit in spirit, where we connect back to our true personhood and not the illusion of our true self. So what ends up happening with that, as we start to work on ourselves and pull ourselves apart through these ancient initiations, we basically lose ourselves and be reborn into our true selves. Then we're able to walk the path of sacred activism, where we're able to help our fellow brothers and sisters in humanity. What comes with that, though, it's a multifaceted problem, is the dismembering of all the patriarchal systems that govern our existence right now. So when we start to look at the toxic stories that this wounded masculine has manifested over the last thousands of years, we see it in all walks of life, whether it's government, religion, business, whatever. But this is aligning with the cosmic energies that are coming in from the golden age. So this more matriarchal energy now is being called upon to step in and dismember this to be created and reborn. So as we start to do this work, we're calling upon the women again in the world to step up and be the leaders and the healers of the world, because they have the responsibility to destruct and bring back the wounded masculine that's so out of alignment in most of society. You know, we're seeing, unfortunately, these wounded little boys basically grow up in 100-kilo bodies and inflicting suffering and pain in domestic violence, in sexual abuse, power, greed, control. And we don't need our divine feminine women now to step into a similar position of some retarded sort of energy of the male and look for low vibrational vengeance and suffering. We need the goddess energy to come forth, where we can basically, the women can open up their arms almost and nurture this masculine energy to their bosom and bring them back into alignment, because then we have the polarities of male and female coming together to create life and a new way of moving forward. So with shamanism at the moment, there seems to be a really big pull. It's becoming really in vogue and pretty popular. I can't tell you how many times I get called upon to, you know, train someone or whatever because there need to be a shaman. But it's more along the lines of a reconnection to their spirit and to the earth, because what this message is coming through for the earth through this initiatory rite is we need to heal the chronic inflammation in our bodies. Everyone is carrying this inflammation in cerebral fluids, spinal fluids, like that is matching the pollution in our waterways, which is the bloods of life. You know, our mothers trying to push this energy and water through the world to create life and abundance and growth, but it's struggling with, you know, micropollutants, plastics, petrochemicals, and we all know the story. But it's time for us to be able to heal on the microcosm so we can pull ourselves apart and lift our vibration. And once we are able to heal thyself in this microcosm, it then brings healing to the macrocosm and the earth. So as full on as the situation is right now in the world, with a lot of fear and anxiety and people acting out through ego and all sorts of stuff, it's time for us to look for a new way of existence. The old way is not working anymore. And this is why these rites are becoming so important again. And we're looking to each other to become the energy of we and community, this matriarchal creation where the time of me and competition, this male thing, is time for it to go. It has no place in this golden age moving forward. But we can see these, let's call them establishments around the world that are grasping for power and control because they can sense this change is happening. But en masse, we need our people to start to sit in their bravery, I guess, of confronting their shadow aspects, their wounds and their suffering and their ancestral burdens that they're carrying. This takes courage for most people. For me, my second initiation into spirit was at my paralysis. I fell off a multi-story building and was paralyzed, and I was never supposed to walk again. And then it's a long story, but after 8 days, a spirit come to me and touched me basically and healed me. And for a long time, I was under the guise of, probably because of my religious upbringing, that it was Christ and all this kind of stuff. But after years of training and implementing what this freak accident or occurrence happened, I was actually shown it was my true self, my soul. And here is the message for the most people of the world that they need to hear, is as crazy as that incident was, it was unique to me, and everyone else has their own unique spiritual calling. Because what I was told then was our soul and our spirit has the infinite capacity to heal, and our bodies have the infinite capacity to rejuvenate. And we just have to get out of the way. And this is the most important part of people's whole healing journey, is the obstacle that stops them from truly healing themselves is themselves. And this illusion and pain bodies that we sit in often. And I'm super blessed in a way that every day in my practice, I get to sit and witness the potentiality of the human being when they pull themselves apart and sit in this suffering and crap that they've called life, to step forward into this beauty and watch this soul come forth and become a divine human to walk this path. And these are the things that I marvel at daily, watching the potentiality of what we do. But we have to realize we need to take our power of healing back that we've given away to other industries like medical model of healing, and our power of spirit that we gave away to religion. We need to understand that we are little gods in human bodies who can create and manifest anything they want. And the only way to do that is to know you have your power of health and you have the power of spirit to connect to the divine. But to do that, we have to see it in the great element of space. And where space is where rebirth forms. And to create space in the microcosm of our being, we need to pull the darkness out. And this is where death and dismemberment comes back in, as you sit and dismember every little aspect of yourself. Because once you do that, the energy of your memory chain that's formed your personal identity will allow the space for your true personhood to come through. And that's when we heal ourselves. And then that mirrors healing into our Earth Mother, who's calling for all her children to come home now, especially with, not just in shamanism, in other spiritual things. It's becoming very back to the old ways, where we are pulling back the veil and connecting to the spirit. One of the other messages, it was around the time the whole COVID thing started, I guess, come through from spirit for me was namaskar. We bow down to existence. And the modern person has forgotten that how to bow down to existence of nature and the spirit world. And as we do that, I kept seeing polarities coming together. Shiva Shakti energy, male, female, Ida, Pingala, all these unions, life and death even. We're faced with death, so it's in our face all the time right now. And it's one of the great fears of the modern person. We shriek at death and move away, where it's our birthright to transition to the next stage of our existence. And we need to bring that back in, because only then can we celebrate life. And this is the union that we have to bring back. And this starts with the male being healed and the union of the female and male coming in, because the energy of male is spirit, and it gets transmuted into the female, who transmutes it into life, into matter. They both need to work together in this dance. And this is the disconnect that's been happening and causing much suffering. I see the divine feminine daily sitting in my healing practice looking for answers and wounds, but every single one of those beautiful women are subject to the wounded masculine. And it's about the masculine coming back into our alignment to be powerful in their vulnerability, in their divine feminine. And we find ourselves at a beautiful time in existence, such a beautiful time. And I say to people all the time, it's like your soul chose to be born now. Was it to basically change and manifest and change something new to create this utopian golden age? Or was it to do the same thing of our ancestors and our forebears? Those stories no longer serve. They're not our time. This is our time. And now these spiritual practices are becoming more and more necessary. And things like this are necessary because it's to help inspire, to get people back into the spirit of themselves, to become powerful and not dispirited. That's where our wounding and loss of power really stems from. Sure, it manifests into our physicality, but it's from dispiritedness and loss of soul. And we need to get back to this sort of way of existence where we can all become one entity of humanity, many, many cogs in, one chain. And we often look to, or people do look to people like us, and they look outside themselves and think, oh, wow, that person's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Use a dualistic label, a shaman type of rubbish, but they don't look inward and see their own beauty and their own specialness. And this is the thing I hope events like this do, trigger them to look inward, to see their own uniqueness and their own speciality, because their role here is just as special as ours. And these are just different modalities and pathways to the same destination. Whether you find yourself in yoga or energy healing or shamanism or whatever, go inward and find and listen to your true self. Because at the moment, you have no choice, really. It's a massive initiation. And when we move in shamanic training through the death and dismemberment process, that is right at the end of someone's training to signal the maturing of the practitioner. Unfortunately, for most of the people, the lay people of the world, who are somewhat unconscious, they're going through this initiation now. And we need to be the people, the light, for whatever word you want to use, to guide them, to bring them home like a beacon back to their true personhood. Because this is what it's about. This is how our consciousness evolves and we become one. No more competition or community, all together. And as our mother dismembers and is reborn, her children need to do the same. And I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not. And true healing is really difficult. And I watch these brave people daily do it. And for me, I was really, really fortunate. Something I call the Copa Felix. It's this Latin term for the fortunate fall. I was so fortunate to fall off a multi-story building and break my back because it dropped me into this initiation without conscious choice. Because if I sat in conscious choice, I'd probably, looking back how I was in my 20s, the party poster boy, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to confront all my demons and sit in that space. And I truly honor these people who do that. And I encourage everyone to keep doing that because our time is calling for you people to change the world. No more old stories, no more old connection. We need peace, love, and balance for the next thousands of years. And we have to create the space for this beautiful goddess energy to come in and create. And it's our time, and we need to step forth and be brave, because our planet and us are heading towards an extinction. That's the alternative. So basically, man and woman up, people, I guess. But yeah, so really look at this life crisis that we're in at the moment as a beautiful opportunity and a blessing for you to pull everything apart and transform into the beautiful spiritual beings, that you all are. Because, your suffering is just a reflection of mine. And what's the point if we're not in it together, and yeah, I guess shine your light on the world. There'll be less darkness. And that's about sort of, I can keep going if we like. Not too sure.
Daniel, it's wonderful. And we will keep going into the panel as well. So I've been taking some notes there because there's, just some really beautiful and powerful sharing that I will bring over when we're in with Ian as well, so we can have some dialogue around that. But I think that to conclude it saying, bring your light on the world, and for people to really hold that in their heart and see what that means for them until we come back to the panel, and then we can discuss that too. That's been an absolute pleasure and a journey listening. And you're right, there's plenty more. Yes.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much.